Shanti, happy Halloween to everybody. Before going to why we celebrate Halloween and the deep spiritual secrets imbibed in this Halloween, let me express my deep condolences the for more than 150 people who died in the Halloween celebration in Seoul, South Korea last night. So it is really shocking that most of them died due to cardiac arrest. So this is the first Halloween they celebrate after COVID, after lifting the mandatory use of mask on the face. So that is why there were around hundreds and thousands of people in the narrow street, which led to the stampede that resulted in this tragedy that resulted in the death of more than 150 people, and more than 150 people were admitted in hospital also. So as soon as we listen to the word Halloween, we are reminded of Americans dressing in many fancy dresses like that of ghost. Mainly the intention of those costumes is either to make one scared or to make one burst into laughter. And also some will have haunted houses in which people are made to visit the house, and they will usually have it free of cost, or sometimes it will be for charity, so there will be some donation for the entry. So Halloween is actually the eve of All Hallows Day, which means All Saints Day. But it had its origin from immigrants of America some 2000 years back. So it had its origin in Scotland, Ireland, and it was basically a festival to mark the end of the harvest season. Also, it was widely believed that in the October 31st of every year, there will be a very thin layer between the world we live in and the world of the dead. So that on that particular day, the ghosts will come from the other side to live with us. So in order to scare them away from us, they have the bonfires lit and they will chant some mantras, and also they have the offering of food in the doorsteps of the house. And when they go out of the house on that particular day, especially in the night, they will wear the costume like that of a ghost, so that a ghost get confused whether that's a human or a ghost. So that's their idea, so that they can stay away from the real ghosts. But in the modernized version of Halloween celebration, it has become more of fun. So where children and adults, they wear fancy costumes and they visit the neighbors and they ask for treat or trick. So instead of the offering they had for the ghosts, now they are giving the treat to the kids. They will usually offer some kind of sweets or candies to the kids. But in the olden days, that was not like that. It was not family friendly, but it was like the teenagers would visit the houses asking for money, and if they don't give money, they will vandalize their houses. But that's not so anymore. But still they ask trick or treat. If you are ready to give me the treat by offering candy, then I will just go smilingly, or else I will play some mischief, but in a lighter way. Since it happens just once in a year, people are actually more willing to offer sweets to the kids. After all, everybody loves kids, right? Instead of bonfire, now they are having jack-o'-lantern, where a large pumpkin is taken and a human face is carved out of it, and a light or candle that is ignited is placed inside that, so it scares the people away. So they placed that in front of their house. Also, they play apple bobbing, where they have a barrel full of water and they have apples inside it, and one has to get blindfolded before trying to take take the apple out of the water using their mouth. Though nobody knows the spiritual significance of these rituals during Halloween, there is a deep spiritual secret behind all these habits. Actually, we souls start entering this planet Earth 5000 years back, when this world was a heaven. It was filled with everything that one needs to stay happy forever. So this world continued to be heaven for the first 2500 years, and we were blissful, we were ever healthy, we were ever wealthy for the first 2500 years, which is why it was called heaven. Then after that, this world becomes hell slowly. So the main reason for that is we become haunted with the subtle ghosts such as lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. So now everybody is fully haunted with these five vices or subtle ghosts. So that has in turn made us to be the embodiment of a Satan. So in order to drive away those five ghosts, God himself has come to the earth. He enters an old man and gives this teaching, which is available absolutely free of cost in all Brahma Kumaris Raja Yoga Meditation Center across the globe. It is also available, you can Google it for yourself. The knowledge is called Murli, which is spelled M-U-R-L-I. So it is available in all languages. So in that knowledge, God reveals the secret that while we were in heaven, we were soul conscious, which means we considered ourselves to be the soul that shines like a tiny star in between the eyebrows. So that is the reason for our blissfulness, because the true nature of the soul itself is blissfulness. Since we were constantly conscious of the fact that we are actually the souls that controls this body, and we are not this perishable body, that we stayed happy forever, and we were always conscious of the fact that we are actually speaking to the soul and not to this body, because of which we were not falling for the lust or any external attractions. That is the reason we were happy for the first 2500 years. Of course, we were filled with everything, but still we derived eternal happiness by being soul conscious for the first 2500 years. Then we slowly become body conscious, because of which we can no longer experience the blissfulness from within the soul. So we had to depend on the external sources for getting happiness. So that happiness is not going to last for long, and we need to put more effort to get that happiness. And in that attempt, our soul power is going to drastically reduce. When this soul power gets reduced, we can no longer have full control over the mind. So our mind is going to create unnecessary thoughts without your permission. So that is when we start developing more and more lustful thoughts, angry thoughts, thoughts regarding attachment, jealousy, greediness, and ego. And that's how we start committing more and more sins, and in that process we ourselves have become more like a ghost. So the Halloween is basically celebrated not for the ghost of the dead, because what happens after death? They're going to take birth soon after they leave one body. So all our forefathers are just here among us. They could be your son, your husband, your friend, your enemy, your neighbor. You are surrounded by your forefathers, because soul is eternal. It has no end. It will always be there. But the soul, which was very sweet to interact with in heaven, after taking several rebirths, has become so bitter. It is behaving as if it is a ghost. So, what we need to do is to satisfy the other ghost by killing the ghost that is within us. Because if we exhibit the ghostly behavior like lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego, that is going to induce the ghostliness within others as well. So that is going to create trouble for us and for others. So to put an end to the trouble and to be able to make this world into heaven again, God gives this teaching called Murli, so that but after taking several rebirths, we can no longer remember our forefathers, but we were associated with them in our past births, but we can no longer remember what our relationship with others are, and neither they can remember who we were in our past births. So it is more like we are in a disguised form, which is why they have this habit of wearing spooky costumes. So it not only represents the difference in our external appearance, but also the difference in our overall character. So every time someone interact with us, you should be as cautious as the ancient people during October 31st were cautious to the ghosts, because though people look like ordinary humans, but the ghosts are there inside. They're ready to burst out at any moment with a minor trigger. So you should be very careful that you should never interact in any way that triggers their ghostly behavior. So just like people offer candies to the kids when they ask for trick or treat, likewise every single time someone is speaking with you, it is more like they are asking trick or treat. If you are giving this sweet, which means if you are interacting with them in a very sweet way, then you will be spared, or else they will make your life horrible. So we are in our last birth. So it is only just before the destruction of the world, God himself enters an old man's body, and he gives that man the name Brahma. So it is only through his mouth God is giving this knowledge, and the essence of this knowledge itself is you should consider yourself to be the soul. You should get rid of body consciousness, which is the root cause of all the sufferings that you are incurring. It would be very scary to see the jack-o'-lantern, but if you are conscious of the fact that it is the candle that is lit inside the pumpkin that makes that face, then you will no longer be scared by that. Likewise, if you are able to see the light, which is the soul that shines in between the eyebrows while you are interacting with others, you will not be disturbed by any sort of ghostly behavior that they exhibit, because it is because their soul lacks the power, they behave like that. But since you are focusing on the soul that is exhibiting that character, you are seeing all the three aspects of time of the soul, because the soul which is now exhibiting the ghostly behaviors were actually exhibiting divine qualities when it first entered the earth. It is because the soul lacks its power, it can no longer has the power to think clearly. That's why it is taking stupid decisions, which leads to the exhibition of the devilish characters. So if you are constantly aware of this, you will always be sweet to everybody, no matter how they behave with you. Because if they behave in a bitter way to you, if you react in a bitter way, it is going to actually increase the bitterness. But even if they behave bitter to you, and if you in turn behave very sweetly, obviously he is going to cool down, and eventually he will also become sweet while interacting with you. So that's how you are settling the karmic bondage between you and him, so that before the destruction of the old world, you will be able to leave this body very happily and enter the soul world. So for that, you need to remember God as much as possible as a tiny star in the golden red colored light world. You need to remember him as lovingly as your father. Only then your soul will get the power, so that it can get rid of all the five vices that's been haunting it. It is by getting yourself free of all the ghosts that is within you, within your mind, you will be able to become safe from the other ghosts that surround you. And the only way to do that is to become soul conscious and to remember God as a point of light as much as possible. And also, as I mentioned earlier, please read Murli daily and churn over the points of Murli throughout the day, so that you remain fully conscious throughout the day, so that you will be protected from all sorts of devils that is within you and that is outside you. Om Shanti. Happy Halloween again.